Writing. The first time humanity saw her, the skies themselves burned with light. On the morning of the invasion, Earth was blanketed by the silhouettes of colossal warships, eclipsing the sun. People on every continent froze mid-step, looking up as night fell in the middle of the day. The ships belonged to the Xylar Dominion, a coalition of alien clans united under a single ruler, a queen who had never lost a war. Her name was Queen Seralith, and she had come for Earth, beginning a world on the brink. The United Earth Council scrambled to understand what they faced. Reports from observatories confirmed the scale. 1,000 battleships, each larger than the tallest skyscraper, their hulls marked with living glyphs that glowed like veins of fire. Broadcasts filled the airwaves with speculation. Were they here to harvest resources, enslave humanity, or simply erase us as a threat? In orbit, negotiations were demanded. A transmission cut through every screen on the planet. A single figure appeared. A woman tall beyond human proportions, dressed in a carapace of living armor that shifted like liquid metal. Her crown was not of jewels but of radiant energy coursing through spires that framed her face. Her eyes were molten gold, unblinking and merciless. She spoke a language not our own, yet somehow every human understood her perfectly. "Humans of Earth," she said, her voice echoing like thunder across oceans, "you have been deemed a danger. Your endless wars, your reckless hunger for weapons, your ignorance of balance. You are a contagion. The Dominion has voted. You will be removed. Resistance will mean annihilation." The world fell into chaos. Some prayed. Some rioted. Some reached for guns that would never pierce an alien hull. But the council begged for time. One ambassador after another tried to speak with the Queen, but she dismissed them all. To her, humanity was not a people. It was a disease that needed cauterizing. Yet before she gave the order, she demanded a final act of ritual. One human representative would be chosen to stand before her throne and plead for Earth's survival. That representative was me. Middle. The throne of the alien queen. I had no military rank. I wasn't a scientist, a general, or a politician. I was a linguist, a scholar of ancient languages whose work had accidentally been transmitted to deep space through one of Earth's radio experiments decades ago. Somehow, the Dominion had intercepted my translations of dead human tongues. Somehow, they had decided I was the one to speak. When the shuttle took me up through the stratosphere, I felt my heart break at the sight of Earth below. Half the planet was covered in the shadows of alien ships, each one ready to strike. My own people had no faith that I could do anything. Whispers among officials said this was only a formality before our execution. The shuttle docked with the flagship. Its corridors glowed with bioluminescence, as though the ship itself breathed. I was escorted by guards, creatures with insectoid armor and eyes like burning coals, until the corridor opened into a vast throne hall. There she was. Queen Seralith sat upon a throne of flowing crystal, her height greater than any human, her presence suffocating. Every movement was a storm. Her golden eyes met mine, and I felt myself unravel, as though she could read the sum of my life with a glance. "Human," she said, her voice resonating with layers upon layers of sound. "Speak your final words. Know that your world hangs by a thread that I can sever." My mouth went dry. My knees wanted to give way. Yet I forced myself forward. I spoke not as a warrior nor as a politician, but as someone who loved Earth, not for its power but for its fragility. I told her of music that rises from grief, of oceans that hold mysteries older than memory, of laughter in cities, of children who dream of stars. I told her of the mistakes of humankind, but also of our yearning, our stubborn refusal to give up, our ability to create beauty alongside destruction. Her expression did not change. She seemed carved from war itself. Then, in the middle of my words, I looked directly into her eyes. And something happened. The turning point, eyes that spoke. Her eyes were not just golden, they were galaxies bound in fire. I saw storms raging across alien worlds, battles fought across light years, and loneliness vast as space itself. For the first time, I realized the Queen was not untouched by time or pain. She had carried the Dominion through centuries of war, always victorious, but at a cost only she could measure. And in that gaze she saw me too. Not a soldier, not a conqueror, just a fragile human who should have been nothing to her. Yet when our eyes locked, she faltered. For the briefest second, her armor softened, as though light bent differently around her. Her lips parted, and a silence fell across the throne room. The guards shifted uneasily. The living crystal of the hall pulsed slower, as if holding its breath. She whispered, almost to herself, "I nearly launched a war, but your eyes." The words trailed, unfinished, and in that moment I knew I had found the smallest crack in her armor. A single seed of doubt in a queen who had never doubted before. The Queen's confession. She did not kill me. Instead, she summoned me closer, her gaze never leaving mine. Her guards stirred in protest, but a single wave of her hand silenced them. "Human," she said softly, "I have ended empires for less. Why do your eyes refuse to be silent?" I didn't know how to answer, except with honesty. Maybe because they are not just mine. When you look at me, you see all of us. Our weakness, our hope, our fear, and our defiance. Maybe it is not me you are seeing, but the reflection of something you thought was gone in yourself. She regarded me for a long time, her golden eyes narrowing, then softening. And then, to my shock, she dismissed the hall. Her soldiers left us alone. The Queen rose from her throne, standing so tall I felt like a child in her presence. She stepped closer until her shadow engulfed me. "You speak as though you know me," she said. "Do you know what I am? I am Serelith, who crushed the Zarn horde, who burned the Okari's fleet, who silenced the unending choir. I am the Queen who has never wept. And yet..." Her voice caught, almost imperceptibly. "Yet when you looked at me, I remembered what I once was, before the wars, before the crown. Once, I too looked to the stars with wonder, not hunger." Her hand, clawed and armored, hovered near my face but never touched. "Your eyes reminded me. Middle conflict, a choice of war or peace." The revelation did not end the danger. Outside the flagship, the Dominion fleet still hovered, awaiting her order. Generals demanded destruction. Advisors urged her to strike before humanity could ever rise strong enough to threaten them. 4 hours, she wrestled with her counsel. I stood beside her, an insignificant human among titans, yet she kept me near, as though afraid the reflection in my eyes might vanish if I left. The council accused her of weakness. They warned her that sparing humanity would fracture her rule. She silenced them with a roar that shook the chamber. Last she turned to me. "If I end this war before it begins, my dominion may fall into chaos. Rivals will call me feeble. My people may suffer rebellion. Tell me, human, should I risk the empire I have built for your fragile species?" The weight of her words crushed me. If I answered wrong, billions would die, either my people or hers. I thought of Earth, of the children who had not yet seen the stars. Then I thought of her, a queen who had never been allowed to see them as anything but battlefields. I said quietly, "If your empire cannot survive a moment of mercy, then perhaps it is not as strong as you believe. But if you let us live, Perhaps one day our children will not meet as enemies but as allies." Silence followed. The council hissed in outrage. But the Queen's eyes softened again, as though my words carried a truth she could no longer deny. Ending. A war averted, a future unwritten. When dawn broke over Earth the next day, the ships were gone. The world erupted in disbelief. No weapons had been fired. No blood spilled. Billions woke to find themselves alive, staring at skies clear once more. News outlets called it a miracle. Governments took credit. Conspiracies abounded. Few believed the truth, that a war had been averted not by armies, but by a single gaze. I never returned to Earth the same. Days later, another shuttle descended for me. Queen Serelith requested my presence again, not as a prisoner but as a guest. She wished to learn more of humanity, not from politicians, but from the one human whose eyes had reminded her of herself. Before I left, I asked her why. She looked at me with those golden eyes, softer now than when the world first saw her. And she spoke words I will never forget. "I nearly launched a war, human. But your eyes ruined my plans. They told me a truth I had long buried, that even in the smallest, most fragile beings, the universe hides mirrors. And sometimes those mirrors can change the fate of stars. And so the story of Earth's survival was not written in blood, but in reflection, in the gaze of a queen who had conquered galaxies, and in the eyes of a human who refused to look away. The war that should have destroyed us never came. Instead, what began was something new, fragile, and uncertain. A truce born not of treaties, but of eyes that saw what words could not. And though the future was unwritten, one thing was certain. The Queen's war had ended before it began, not with weapons but with wonder.